What's going on, guys? It's Ryan again. I hope you guys are having a great day so far. Today we're doing a full restoration on these 1997 Cherry 12s. These shoes are 25 years old, so in this restoration, I'm gonna try to be extra mindful. There's lots going on here. We gotta give them a full cleaning, including the insides, sand down a few areas and give them a fresh coat of paint, replace the side tabs, and finally reglue everything. I was trying to avoid cracking the tabs, but for a shoe this old, I don't really think we can escape that. I'll show you guys later on where you can find replacements. What I love about the OG 12s is that the soles come off very easily. The challenge now becomes trying to get rid of all that old glue. I'm really not looking forward to it. I wanted to try and reuse these laces, but unfortunately, they started fraying. So I had to throw them out and find a replacement pair on eBay. When we look inside, it's an absolute mess. There's lint, and I think that's cat hair. It's on the side, it's on the insoles, it's under the insoles, pretty much everywhere, man. I took out the insoles and scrubbed the life out of them, including the bottoms. I didn't end up using the laundry method, which I should have. Normally you wouldn't put a shoe this old in the washing machine, but being that I took out the soles and later on the side tabs, I think we would have been perfectly fine. I gotta admit though, it was a pretty good learning experience, getting rid of all that dust, all that hair, whatever's hiding underneath the insoles. We're gonna continue the cleaning. I'm using a fabric shaver for the lint. From there on, I try to use Lysol to clean and disinfect all the corners. And then finally, a White Revive mix to try and brighten up the fabric. I tried to vacuum the shoe, but it really didn't do anything. The cat hair was kinda stuck in there. What ended up working was using the back end of an X-Acto knife to gently scratch it off to the surface, and then use tape to lift it off. We got most of it, but I had to go back a few times. All that's left is to clean the bottom. The insides look really good now. I use shoe trees in all of my restorations because they help bring the original shape back. Removing the tabs are pretty simple. An X-Acto knife slides right in. Keep in mind they are stitched on the top and in the bottom where it's glued down. If you find it a little bit hard, like I did right here, you can actually loosen the thread from the inside. You don't have to worry about anything flaking or getting stuck in there because it's not locked in anymore. Before we can paint these, we need to remove the factory finish. To do that, you can just use acetone on a cotton ball. When we drop down the light, it's easier to see how damaged they really are. We can try to remove the creases using an iron and a wet shirt. I'm pushing outwards and ironing against the fold. One of my favorite things to do on the Jordan 12s is to iron the tongue and the lining. In a quick side-by-side comparison, you guys can see a pretty noticeable difference there. In order for us to get the best bond, we have to get rid of the old glue. First, I'm going to start with the soles. It took around 3 full passes with acetone. For me, the challenging part is the uppers. They can take about 4 to 5 passes to fully clean it out. You can actually use a paint stripper on it. Mix it in there, and while it's still wet, take a Scotch pad and wipe it off. And then you're going to use acetone to clean off any remainder, and we just repeat the cycle. We gotta clean the front too, so I'm using this X-Acto knife, a 120 grit sandpaper, and some acetone. Barge Super Stick is my glue of choice. We're going to start with one thin coat, and then let it dry for 5 minutes. The glue has a shine to it, so you can easily see any areas that you missed. And now we're going to apply a second coat and make sure we go to the very end. We're going to let this cure for a few hours. I find that the longer I wait, the better the results are. These are the replacement tabs. Feel free to reach out to JSoCologist on Instagram if you need any replacement parts. We're going to open up the space and then clean off any old glue. When it comes to these tabs, you're going to need to make adjustments, and it varies depending on the shoe itself. You need the sides to line up, and you want to make it look like it's tucked inside the sole. I used sandpaper to file down the side, and leather filler wherever it was appropriate. Now we're going back to the regluing, and it's pretty much the same thing, and I'm using tape for a better lineup. You just want to be sure that you pull off the tape immediately, because if you let it dry, you can actually end up ripping off the glue. I had to cut down the tabs a little bit just so that they would fit. And now we're heating the areas up to around 110 to 140 degrees, and with a mild amount of pressure, it should tack on instantly. Going back to what we said earlier, we can use leather filler to fill in any scuffs, any scratches, and also any holes. Basically, you wipe it in there, you let it dry for a few hours, and then you sand it down. Because of the texture on the midsole, we want to be a little bit more careful here. You guys will see later on. We're doing the same regluing technique here. If you guys want to watch a more detailed tutorial, I'll link that video above. Also, don't forget the bottoms. Now we must take out the shoe trees, because it's gonna be harder to align everything. We also have to make a few passes with the heat gun on the bottom. So considering the damage on the leather, it's gonna take a lot of paint to cover it up. So it's really important that I don't go heavy over the threadwork. And this is just standard flat white paint. If there's any imperfections on the leather that you want to fix, you can sand it down using a 1500 grit sandpaper. The back midsole is usually what shows the most signs of aging, so I wanted to recreate that look by painting it an off-white color. The color match is roughly 50% autumn red, 35% infrared, and then 15% red. You can also use varsity in place of infrared and red. And now we're just going to fill in the red part. So I accidentally sanded down more than I needed to. You know, luckily the pattern was still there, so I used an X-Acto knife to score it back in. These aren't perfect circles, so my main goal was to make sure that they had some type of edges to them. I unyellowed the 23 inside my indoor unit. If you guys want to see a tutorial, I'll link it above. I gotta admit, on the Jordan 12s, it's always satisfying to poke out the thread holes. To make your shoes smell really good on the inside, I recommend using this spray that I got for like $5. The finisher that we need is Krylon Matte Finisher, and we're aiming for at least 2 to 3 coats. If you apply too much, it could cause cracking. And we can't forget the tire shine. It's going to get rid of any ashiness on the sole, and it's also going to give your shoe a temporary shine to it. Finally, after a really long restoration, we can lace them up. There you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, please consider dropping a like down below. Recently we hit 1,000 subs, which is crazy to even think about. As always, if you guys need any sneaker restoration advice, you can leave a comment down below, or you can reach out to me on IG. Thank you guys once again. I hope you have a great holidays, and I'll see you in the next video.